So I was at my garden this morning and I obviously cleaned up a whole bunch of weeds that had developed when I was away. Of course, the weeds will always grow. And someone had asked me how I prepare my comfrey for a salve, and this is what I do. I actually pick the leaves and I tie them up with an elastic band, because if you tie them up with string, when they dry, they will fall out. So the first step is to tie them with an elastic band, and then I hang them to dry, just to let them dry naturally. So I've got 2 bundles here, and I've got them tied up with string because that's all I had. So now I've got to untie these and then restring them with an elastic band and then string them up again. And I did tie them into good solid knots, so this is going to take me a minute. Now, those ones I've actually pulled off the leaves, the first batch, and the second one I left the leaves on the stem and just took off all the seeds and the flowers, and that's fine, either way works. I will be pulling off the leaves when they're dry, and what you do then is when they're totally dry, you crumple them up and you put them in a mason jar with oil. And the reason you wait till they're dry is so that it doesn't go rancid. Because if you try to put this in oil, when it is moist, it will rot and it will go bad. And that's not what you want. And I suppose, I'm having difficulty here, I suppose that yes, you can boil them in oil, the oil that you're going to use, so that the goodness from the plant goes directly into the oil, and then take it out. And that will work. But as I say, my preference is to just make sure that the plant is totally dry and then soak it in the oil and let it sit there for about a month. And I use good heavy butcher's twine here, so I really don't want to waste this, and I found something to pick out the knot, because I will be reusing this to hang it once I've got the elastic bands. Now here's my second batch, and as you can see, this one is on stems. So once again, I am just going to take a very strong, heavy-duty elastic band and put this on as tight as I can, because I have seen them come loose and I don't want anything to fall out. I think that should do. Now these two can be tied together with my butcher's twine. Do I have a free piece here? I do. I have also harvested a whole bunch of chamomile. Okay, so butcher's twine around one of these elastic bands. Other end on this one. And these are ready to hang to dry. Now, I've also harvested a whole bunch of chamomile, and I've got 3 bundles here. I'm at odds of whether I want to let them dry before I pick the flowers off or hang them to dry, because picking the flowers off is a fair bit of work. So I can do that when I'm just looking for something calm and quiet to do, or I can just let it dry for a while. I don't know which would be easier. I've always picked them off fresh, but I know that can be quite the chore too. So, for the time being, I am just going to put these 3 bundles together like this, and I'm also going to hang these to dry for now. So there is my couple of bundles. I've got them all together now. So I've got my Comfrey and I've got my Camomile, all drying outside, not inside, but in a place that is out of the sun. And okay, last but not least, I've harvested a wonderful bundle of lavender, and all I did was just cut them off and tie them up for quick transport home, but I cannot hang these like this. There's just too much stem, too big a bundle, and they certainly won't dry like this. So I've got to redo this bundle either into a number of smaller ones, and of course tie them up with an elastic band. Now, this one was not so tight. Unfortunately, so should be easy enough to pull off. And this lavender smells wonderful. And what I do with this is I dry it, and once it's dried, then I strip off the flower heads, and you could make sachets, or you could leave them on the stem and make lavender bottles, or you can just use them as dried decor in your home as well in a flower setting. Okay, that's taken a while, but here's my bundle. And what I want to do now is just strip every stem so that it's I don't have the leaves on this. Although the leaves are very aromatic as well, it just makes it more difficult to dry them, to leave them on. So what you want to end up with is a nice little bundle that you can tie. And this I will work on individually, and that's part of the reason I'm not doing the chamomile now. I've got enough work ahead of me doing my lavender, and this is the first time in many years that I've been able to harvest lavender. I used to have a beautiful lavender walk in my home, and I would harvest the lavender every year. But I'm so pleased, and this isn't even a third of what's there. And cutting it back this early, I may get a second flush as well. And if I don't, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so I guess I will continue along. And we can make small bundles of these. Let me see if I can find a small elastic. Certainly don't need a big one for that. And once again, just make small bundles so they dry quickly. And I'll continue doing this until I've completed this job for the day. Okay. Once again, you want to hang these to dry upside down so that the flowers don't curl. Now, I understand my grandmother was allergic to the smell of lavender. I'm very glad that I'm not. It's a beautiful smell.